So if you're clicking on a video like this, you probably don't need me to tell you that it's not looking good for Xbox right now. Jason Schreier is reporting layoffs are coming. It's looking like a bloodbath. The new CEO, Asha Sharma, posted this the next 100 days, the big Xbox reset post, lays out some pretty harsh truths about Xbox. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, was recently on an interview talking about how YouTube monetizes Xbox more than Xbox, and basically saying that like Xbox needs to start making money and being sustainable. And it's the 25th anniversary of Xbox, and it now needs to start making money and being sustainable. It is not looking good. And I just want to get it out of the way really fast. Like when I mentioned, like the layoffs are coming, that obviously has an effect on human beings and people in danger of losing their jobs. And that sucks in any industry, whether it's gaming or anywhere. There are people at all different like role levels in an organization like Xbox and at these studios, and their lives are going to get turned upside down. Like livelihoods are at stake, healthcare, families. Like it's not like a funny thing, or definitely not something I want to like celebrate or be like, well, that's just the way it is. Like that sucks when people get fired. But Xbox, this channel is about talking about kind of the business side of games and gaming. And I wanted to hop back on here because it's been a while since I posted to talk about what is going on with Xbox, kind of how they got here, what it means for like core gamers. Like, obviously, I am a PC console gamer. I think if you're watching this, you're probably a PC console gamer. So just wanted to like disclaimer out of the way that like layoffs of any kind, especially these giant corporations, it sucks. But I wanted to talk about the reality of where Xbox finds itself. And one thing that I think kind of made me want to make this video that I'm not seeing get talked about is like Xbox totally missed its goal. That's why Phil Spencer's retired, Sarah Bond's out, Asher Sharma got brought in as like the new blood to sort of fix things, is because Xbox did not end up where they wanted to be. And so I think it's important to remember like where they wanted to be and what their goal was, because it's going to be their goal again. And right now, Xbox is trying to pivot like back to core gamers, back to like console PC gamers, and to be like, yeah, we're focused on Xbox, we're focused, the return of Xbox. That is, as Asha Sharma said when she became CEO of Xbox, the plan's the plan until it's not the plan. Console gaming is not enough for Microsoft. It's not going to be where they stop. And it's been interesting to follow them on this like journey, because if you remember, they've talked about reaching billions of gamers for a long time now. Phil Spencer would talk about 2 billion gamers. Satya Nadella would talk. Let me just pull this up really fast. Let's jump around. Satya Nadella, here's this post from, like looks like 2020. He's 3 billion people look to gaming for entertainment, community, and achievement, and our ambition is to empower each of them wherever they play. Today is a step forward on that journey. Okay, this is back when they're purchasing Bethesda back in 2020. 3 billion gamers. And you got to remember, when you hear something like that, they're not talking about console. They're not talking about we want to be the number one console and we want to like, if they took every PlayStation player, they're not getting close to 3 billion gamers. Console's like not enough for them. And it's not going to be enough for them, even though they're acting like they're pivoting back to the core. They're doing that to try to survive and buckle down, because that's where like the money flows from right now. But they wanted cloud gamers and mobile gamers, and they wanted 3 billion gamers, and the core is not going to be enough for them. Okay. So like right now, like Xbox, they're stuck with us, but they want more. And if you think like, oh no, they're totally going to change, and that's, they're going to really focus on the core, they're not done trying to get mobile going and PC going. Asha just gave this interview where Asha Sharma was talking about Windows is where the world games. They're still focused. Microsoft and Xbox are such a big company. Their focus is on like being, as she said, the number one gaming company. You don't get to do that by focusing just on console. They want to be bigger than that. And you can just see here. I want. Let's keep me in the picture here. She just said 3 weeks ago, we filed an amicus because mobile competition still matters. And we believe the future of play should be more open. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't really care about it as someone who primarily games on PC and console. I don't want to game on mobile. I don't necessarily disagree with the idea that mobile gaming should be more open, that Apple and Google shouldn't have this duopoly on it, and that other publishers, like Microsoft or like Epic should be able to compete in that arena, but it doesn't benefit me as a gamer, so I don't really care about it. And so a little bit there is the realization with Xbox of like, why why can't I click through this? Like I said, I'm a bit rusty. It's been a minute since I've done this, so I'm clicking in OBS all kinds of wrong. But the point is, they're stuck with us for now, but they don't want to stay here. They don't want to stay focused on the core. They want to get bigger. Okay. And this has been their plan for a long time. You can go back to that. There was that like disastrous interview Phil Spencer gave with like Kind of Funny's Xcast after Redfall was a flop, and he probably shouldn't have gave it. But it got a lot of airtime where he was like, "There's no world where we out console Sony or out console Nintendo," and people were very upset about that. But I said, even at the time, in like the old video about that if you look at it in the context of the question he was answering, which the host of XCast had asked, Xbox has really been focusing on like PC and cloud and other stuff. Is that coming at the expense of console? And are you going to refocus on the console? And Spencer was basically like, no, there's no win for us where we're the best console, where we're like a better version of what, Team Blue does. I think it's what he said at the time. But that was always their vision, was that they were going to be bigger than console, that Xbox was going to focus on cloud and mobile. Well, that did not work out. Okay, they couldn't do mobile. Cloud is for sure not taking off the way they thought it was going to. They were really thinking they were going to like open up all these new markets in like India, Latin America, Africa, all over the world, and get people on Game Pass through mobile and through cloud and through PC in places like China and Korea, where PC is much more dominant. None of that worked out. They got blocked at every turn, and now they're stuck here with us. But I'm telling you, it's not going to last. They are going to want to go for that bigger pie again, because console gaming is not enough for Microsoft. Like, Microsoft didn't spend 70 billion on Activision to be like the best console. Like, they don't want to edge out PlayStation and Nintendo and just be a little bit better. They want that 2 billion, 3 billion gamer thing. Like, their whole pitch with it was, I mean, I remember years ago, Satya Nadella was talking about like the way Amazon has marketplace or Facebook has, social media. That's what Microsoft thinks about with gaming. They're like, how do we become the Amazon of gaming? How do we become the Facebook of gaming? They want to be big. They want to be in everybody's lives. And they can't, they failed. It didn't work out. But all the bets they were making, like buying Activision, buying ZeniMax, investing all of this, making Game Pass so cheap, was to get to that big number. It leaked in during the ABK court case that they wanted 100 million Game Pass subscribers by like 2030. I think right now they're supposed to be at like 60 or 80 million, somewhere in there, which obviously they're not. I think the highest they got was like 35 million. They raised the price to like 30, and then we saw Asher Sharma admitted they had like 8 months of decline, lost millions of subs on that, and that's why they lowered the price back to like 23 for Game Pass. But I think they raised it to 30 at the time. Like, that was like under Phil Spencer near the end, to be like, we have to start making this money back, because all the avenues of growth we thought we were going to have, all the passages to 100 million subscribers, those passages have been like caved in. We're not going to get on Apple, because if or on Google, like on mobile stores, because if you imagine if they could have gotten Game Pass on mobile stores as an app, and they could have put things like Candy Crush and and other games into that, and they could have tried to entice people, pay for Game Pass through this app, you'll get your Candy Crush, you'll get perks, you'll get whatever, and start adding mobile games to Game Pass, things like that. You start to see how, okay, maybe they could have reached that subscriber number. And if they could have got cloud into developing regions where they're not buying consoles or PC, and for a low price, you bring your own controller, cloud stream on a tablet or a phone, here's your little sub fee. You see how they would have got to that 100 million. It all got blocked. They couldn't do it. And now they're trying to focus on the core, but only for so long. Eventually, Microsoft is going to want gaming to be bigger than console. And, I don't care. Like, I'm a PC console gamer. I've said all along, I think what they're doing is very interesting. Microsoft and Xbox has been the most interesting like platform in gaming to follow, just because it's been a little bit batshit banana pants. And so that's interesting. Like, Nintendo and PlayStation sometimes aren't as interesting because they're business as usual, but like what they're doing business as usual is like more in line with my taste and like what I want to see from a game company, but it doesn't always make for like exciting like analysis. But now we're at this point where Xbox has totally failed. And I can't get it out of my head this image of like Xbox trying to climb out of this hole where like console gamers are, and like they fall down the mud wall. It's just blocked. No, you can't get on mobile. No, you can't. You can't. You know, cloud is not taking off, and now there's AI data centers, and the prices are getting so expensive, and they just have to turn back around and be like, "Oh, you guys like Halo? You still like Gears?" They're stuck here with us for now, but they will try to move on. Um, and I just think that's crazy. Like I'm so checked out at this point from Xbox, and you know, this is anecdotal, but I've seen my own gaming habits as someone who's is multi-platform, but I have a pretty large Xbox like digital library. I was using Game Pass, seeing benefits from it, but when that price hike hit, actually I stocked up on Game Pass gift cards at Best Buy, like still at like the locked in $20 price, and was like, I'm gonna ride this out for a few months and just see do they do something that becomes like worthy of the $30 they were asking for? You know, are they gonna rise to to meet that with value? And they haven't. Now we're at a point where they haven't. I am not paying for Game Pass any longer. I no longer feel comfortable like investing in like I used to buy a lot of third party games on Xbox. I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore because I don't I don't know where they're going with their hardware. So now it's like, look, I'm buying my third party games either on Steam or on PlayStation because I feel a little bit more confident those are going to be around for a while. And I'm not saying that I think Xbox is like going to vanish overnight or poof gone. In fact, I think because of how expensive hardware has gotten, the Xbox Series X and S, the PlayStation 5, these are going to be with us for a long time. I mean, PS4 is still going strong, right? Like this current generation is going to last for a while, so I think I'll still get value out of it. And Xbox still is valuable to me as like a backwards compatible device for playing like older games. But I don't feel confident like continuing to build a library there because I don't feel confident that they have a actual long-term vision right now, other than like we need billions and billions of gamers because we need to make this worthwhile to Microsoft. Um, and the walls are closing in for them. They got blocked on growth, so they can't grow. That's the real problem with Game Pass now too, is they can't get it bigger. It's why they tried to raise the prices. There's not an avenue to attract more players. They're stalled out on PC, uh, with hardware prices rising, and like you've seen, Xbox, PlayStation. I mean, even Nintendo. Everyone has had to raise prices, but Xbox very dramatically. Um, shit, even the Steam Deck had to raise prices. I'm so glad I got a Steam Deck when I did because seeing it's like $900 now for a Steam Deck, that is outrageous. Um, but I don't know how Xbox is going to sell more consoles right now. Like, how do they grow that user base? So that's one of the reasons we're seeing them turn towards expenses and let's shut down the studios that aren't generating a ton of money. They want to focus in on like their big hitters, which to me is like, okay, like how much more can you focus in on Call of Duty? You have like what is it? It's like four studios now. When you think about like you have like Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer that are rotating through kind of like the main games, but you also have Ravensoft managing like what they were doing with like Warzone and also working on campaign for these games. Then you have all their like more satellite and smaller support studios working on it. How much more can you like focus down on that, right? So I guess they're talking Halo, Gears, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls. And for the latter, like, yes, obviously, I don't understand how Fallout and Elder Scrolls aren't like being like light speed ahead. I mean, I guess really it's because they thought Starfield was gonna work and was gonna hit, and it didn't. So now it's like we need to get on it. But like, man, that Fallout show is popping. People love it, and they don't have anything to like drive. They don't have any like revenue like synergy with gaming to drive that in. That's wild. But I don't know. I don't know how they get out of this one and how they build. Like with the hardware crisis, with all their avenues of growth blocked outside of console and outside of PC, I guess. But PC is an uphill battle. Like I don't think the Windows Store is anywhere near ready to compete with Steam. And even if it is, even if it's as good as Steam, you have the fact that all the Steam gamers are like entrenched in Steam. Like Epic has been giving away free games for years and they can't move the needle, and it's because Steam is a premium experience where people like what they get out of Steam. It's not about like the games being free or cheap. They like that ecosystem, and people are willing to pay when they like something, right? So Microsoft has an uphill battle there. They have an uphill battle trying to like sell more hardware. I don't know how they're going to do it. This Project Helix idea of, basically bringing together Windows and Xbox into one, it's going to be too expensive to do right now. You got to imagine, and they're talking about that, like how they need to bring that cost down. I don't know how they do that. They're talking about third party OEMs, but again, you have to wonder like, okay, how does that work? We're gonna partner with third parties like Asus, right? They did the Xbox ROG Ally. That thing was very expensive. I don't know how you bring in another company that needs to get their cut of the building the device, and that brings costs down. I guess if you allow several of these companies to make the hardware and compete with each other on who can make like the best Xbox, okay, maybe that will help control costs, but it's still going to be like pre-built PCs, you'd imagine. Like, how are these companies going to, how do they have like the enterprise scale to buy enough of this stuff cheap enough and then make their profit on the device? Because Xbox apparently is losing money on their console still. Are these third-party OEMs going to be willing to lose money on the console? No, they're going to want their cut of profit up front to make it worth them to sell, because they don't have a store on the Xbox selling anything. It's really wild to think about, like, that they're in this position. And then we come down, we circle back now to like these layoffs, which suck. But I don't know what Xbox does, and the studios getting thrown around, like the three at least: Ninja Theory, Compulsion, and I hate to even say it, Double Fine. And of the three, I'm most personally, as a gamer, like, I care about Double Fine. I really like Double Fine. I love Psychonauts 2. It was one of my favorite games of this like generation. It's an awesome game. I really liked Keeper, and I know it did not do well. It didn't really move the needle. I enjoyed it. I'll say with Keeper, one thing that kills me about it, I think the marketing for Keeper was awful. Just showing the lighthouse and like because spoiler alert, because nobody played it. Spoiler alert on Keeper. You're not just a lighthouse. You're like the light itself, and the movement in the game, like the expression of the game changes. Like I said, spoiler, you become a boat. You become this like spinning light going down these like tunnels and half pipes, and it's crazy. It was so fun, and obviously it's a very small game. Like, I played it over a weekend, but it's the thing that makes me love Double Fine. It was such a unique, beautiful experience. The art, the music, I loved it. But I recognize it didn't move the needle, and it's not really making money. And if Xbox is like in this moment of like fighting for their life, like, as a hardware publisher, I see why they're trying to cut costs. But it sucks because these studios were making games for Game Pass, which I keep seeing that like, oh, these studios didn't know, like they were told to just make games for Game Pass and not worry about being like massive hits. And I believe that. But I don't believe that they were told like, you don't have to be popular, or you don't have to be valuable. Like, I think one of the problems is these games didn't drive value, not just in sales, but like to Game Pass. Like, Ninja Theory took a long time to make Hellblade 2. And I think it's like a 4 or 5 hour game. I couldn't finish it. It felt like a step back from the first game in terms of like player interactivity. I always think of it, it was like a short walk in the wrong direction, because I really enjoyed the first Hellblade and I loved the gameplay of it. And like the ending of Hellblade, I thought really played with player intent in a really interesting way, and it was very interesting. And I thought with Xbox money we were going to get like a deeper Hellblade experience, but it felt like instead they really went in a more cinematic direction. It really was like pushing like graphics and sound, and it was very beautiful, but it was like not why I go to gaming. Like, I felt like the player intent was really stripped out of that experience, and it was very short. I didn't finish it. I was kind of checked out because it was beautiful but boring. Yeah, so I don't know. It sucks. But like, I don't know. I go back and forth on it, to be honest. I would love to hear how you feel in the comments on these studio closures, because I do go back and forth on like, I can see from a business standpoint if they're not driving value, And I believe that's more than just sales, right? When you, if I think if they were to look at these and be like, okay, you didn't sell a lot, but we asked you to make Game Pass games, and you had a lot of engagement on Game Pass, and you were popular, and you were driving Game Pass, I think it'd be a different conversation. But I think the sad truth is, it doesn't seem like it was a really big mover. It didn't like hold engagement. These games aren't talked about anymore. Like they didn't stick with people, and so it's like that is a shame. But at the same time, it's like, man, Xbox is this giant company. These studios, are they that expensive? You know, but then you go, okay, well, should Xbox just like be a patron of like artistic video games? And I don't think there's a wrong answer to that, because I don't think it's a moral question. Like, I don't think Xbox has a moral duty to like spend money on artistic games that don't make money for a business. Because I mean, it is Microsoft, but I don't know that it's a moral question, right? Like where there's a right or wrong answer. I would love to see Xbox continue to fund these kind of projects. I'd love for them to have some like management oversight where they're like, hey, you're not connecting with gamers. We do need you to like make something that like grows an audience and it excites people, right? But if Xbox like shuts down something like Double Fine and there's no chance for like a Psychonauts 3 or like whatever weird big game they come up with next, that's a bummer to me. That's a bummer. Like, I don't know how to, but I can't sit here and be like, well, you know, why would they do this? Like, Keeper was so popular. I understand it wasn't, and I understand their newest game, Kiln, which was multiplayer, and so was a little bit less interesting to me. Well, a lot less interesting to me. Let's be honest. Like, I'm not, you know, I saw it, and, cool, but I'm not going to play that sort of a game. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a bummer. These studios are getting shut down, and like I said at the top, like it's always awful to think about people losing their jobs. Like that sucks. That's awful. But I don't know, man. Like Xbox, it seems like it's existential for them in some ways. And I don't think that like I don't mean existential like Xbox as a brand is gonna like disappear or be gone. I think it's too large for that. Like, I mean, it owns Activision now. And so at least until they like spin off ABK, which, you know, maybe in a few years they do something like that and they try to sell it. Like things like Call of Duty, WoW, Diablo, these things are too big to like just get shut down, I would imagine. I just don't see that happening. But I do see a world where Xbox just pulls back from hardware and just goes full publishing, which I mean, why would you want like less consoles in the market? Like it sucks, but it is a result of like they have not they have not steered the ship correctly. And maybe if they were able to get on mobile or cloud took off, it'd be a different conversation. It'd be more interesting. They'd be more successful, but they'd probably just be like doubling down on like turning Minecraft into Roblox or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know where this goes from here. Um, I don't know. I know I'm just ranting here now, but it just seems to me like Xbox had this vision that didn't work out, and they spent a ton of money pursuing this vision, even as they were getting blocked at every turn. And now we're watching them try to fix it because they crashed and burned. They failed. They wanted to be everywhere and reach anyone who games on anything. They wanted to reach mobile gamers, cloud gamers, the casual. They wanted to build a bigger market instead of serving the market that already existed. And I think that was a very interesting goal. But now that they failed, like you are kind of watching like you know, as Schreier called it, the coming bloodbath of like this is the aftermath of that. This is like the carnage. You know, it's crazy. It's a real big bummer, man. But I'm not quite sure where Xbox goes from here. I do think one of the things they're going to be looking at, and I think Asha Sharma brought it up in that, like, I mentioned that she'd had like the next 100 days Xbox reset. Let me pull that up. You can kind of see where they're going to go. Like, they lay it out. Like, let me find this. First off, crazy they're talking about like their accountability margin, which is like their profit being only 3%. Like, they're coming out and just being like, we're losing so much money, like this failed, you know, because they didn't reach the audience they aimed for. And you know, I'm not going to re-go over this. I've already talked about the hardware crisis they're in and like how I don't know the solution there. But this is what I want to talk about as far as like where they're going to go from here with studios. Point number 4. Let me try to make this a little bigger for everybody. We expanded our studio system when we needed a pipeline of content to meet multiple strategies across subscription streaming and devices. In the process, we have found ourselves overextended as we executed on changing strategies in a landscape of more readily available content. So I think the strategy is going to be to double down internally, like I said, on those bigger franchises, or at least the ones they think are going to be big. Like, is Halo going to really make a comeback? I don't know. But obviously, you'd think that Elder Scrolls, Call of Duty, Minecraft, these things are going to stay big. But I think beyond that, they're going to look towards the landscape of more readily available content. And I think what she's saying here is like, we were buying these studios because we needed this like pipeline of content because we needed to fill Game Pass, and we thought there was going to be more devices and streaming was going to be popular and all this stuff. And now we're in a world where like there's more games than ever. Like in 2018 when Xbox was buying these studios, it's totally different now. There's so many more games now. And that's not going away. I've spoken before that like there are too many games in the same way there's like too many bands and there's too many movies. It's not going away as people want. It's like a dream for people to make games. And when you look at like the landscape of like people learning Roblox and people learning, you know, a version of Unreal on like Unreal Engine Fortnite, and how now there's the news of like Unreal Engine 6 combining that. Um, there's going to be more game makers every year. Like it's coming, and it's going to be like GarageBand game making. Like it's going to be readily available content. And I think that's how Xbox is going to, they're going to just pick from like hopeful indie games, and that's how they're going to fill Game Pass, because it's going to be cheaper for them just to, you know, fund the last leg or throw a bag of like, here's dev cost, you know, to cover you over the finish line, put it in Game Pass, and if you succeed, we win, and if not, we're, you know, we're just out that little bag, right? And so that's the landscape they're going to move towards. They're going to try to find enough, you know, they had Clair Obscur and like the Hollow Knight sequel in Game Pass. And I think they're going to start trying to find those and just pay for those and let the studio be on its own. And it sucks that we're now seeing like a lot of these internal teams get stripped down. We're probably going to see these layoffs not just on like the studios getting spun off or closed or, you know, bought out by others, but we're probably going to see a lot of these teams shrink. And it sucks, but like, you know, these companies, like Xbox did not reach the audience they wanted to reach, like, and yeah, they're stuck with us, and that sucks because they spent a ton of money trying to find new customers, only to turn around and be like, we can't afford to like feed the customers we currently have the way we were. Like we bought all this stuff and it was just going out to like PC and console customers, but they really wanted to end up with a larger customer base, and they didn't get it. And like now we're watching them shrink because they're in a world where there's more competition than ever for the attention of console and PC gamers, and they don't have that new market that they wanted. So here we are. Um, yeah, this has been rantier. Like I said, it's been a minute since uh, since I've posted, but this was just so interesting to me. I wanted to jump back on and talk. I plan to start uploading again and get back into a regular cadence. Um, I would like to eventually, I think, maybe shift back to the more heavily edited videos I was doing. But for now, I want to kind of dip my toes back into this like more long form, just like stream of consciousness type conversation about gaming news. Let me know, you know, if you're returning to the channel, like, do you like this? Or would you rather see like the old style of like more heavily edited, much shorter videos where I like really kind of attack a topic with a lot less like ums and and like chasing, you know, rabbits like today. Yeah, let me know what you think, and also let me know what you think about where Xbox has found itself. Um, yeah, I should go.